Today, we travel to Japan for a dish that feels like comfort and crunch in the same bite. Welcome to Worldwide Delicious, the channel where every recipe carries a story, and every story ends with appetite. Our star is Japanese curry katsu, steaming white rice, a thick aromatic curry sauce, and on top, a breaded cutlet that sings when you slice it. It looks simple, but behind it is a century of cultural exchange, smart adaptation, and everyday love. To understand it, we follow two paths that meet in one plate. First, we trace how curry arrived in Japan during the Meiji era, when the country opened to the world and absorbed Western habits to modernize. Then, we meet tonkatsu, a breaded pork cutlet inspired by European dishes, refined with Japanese technique and panko. Finally, we reach the moment these two favorites unite and become katsu curry, a meal that is hearty, balanced, and instantly satisfying. It became a staple in homes, schools, and restaurants because it is nourishing, affordable, and deeply comforting. In the next parts, you will hear how curry houses helped spread it across Japan, how customization made it even more popular, and why today you can find it with pork, chicken, seafood, or plant-based options. And we will cook it too, step by step, from a homemade curry sauce to a cutlet that stays crisp. If you love food that tastes like history, subscribe to Worldwide Delicious and come along for the journey. Picture the rice releasing steam, the curry shining, and the first bite mixing sauce with crunchy crumbs. By the end, you will want to make it at home, and you will understand why Japan made it a classic. The story of curry in Japan begins in the Meiji era from 1868 to 1912, when Japan rapidly modernized and opened its ports after centuries of isolation. The government encouraged Western practices in industry, education, and daily life, including cuisine, to strengthen the nation's global standing. Curry entered Japan through a surprising route: the British Royal Navy. The British had adopted curry through their colonial presence in India, then adapted it into a hearty ship-friendly stew. It was practical, easy to cook in large batches, and satisfying for sailors. Japan encountered this version and quickly reshaped it for local tastes and ingredients. That is how Japanese curry became different from Indian or British styles. It turned milder, thicker, and slightly sweeter, built on a roux made from flour, fat, and curry powder. Into the pot went simple vegetables like onions, carrots, and potatoes, because they were accessible, filling, and comforting. The dish fit Japan's needs perfectly. It was nutritious, easy to prepare, and easy to serve over rice. By the early 20th century, curry had become a staple in Japanese homes, school cafeterias, and the military. For many people, it became a childhood flavor, the dinner that waits after a long day, warm and familiar. It also reheats beautifully, which made it ideal for busy households because one pot could feed you more than once. That everyday practicality is part of its power. Curry in Japan is not rare, it is reliable. And once it was firmly rooted in daily life, the stage was set for a new idea: adding a crisp, juicy cutlet on top to turn a comforting bowl into a full, irresistible plate. Now we meet tonkatsu, the other half of this delicious union. Tonkatsu is a breaded and fried pork cutlet, but its roots also trace back to Western influence. In the late 19th century, Japan developed a category of cuisine called yushoku, Western-style dishes reimagined with Japanese sensibility. Breaded meats in Europe, especially dishes like schnitzel, inspired cooks in Japan to create their own version. Japan refined the concept with careful cuts, consistent thickness, and an airy breadcrumb called panko. Panko is not a fine crumb, it is light and flaky, which means it fries into a crisp shell that stays delicate instead of heavy. The result is a golden crust that cracks cleanly and a tender, juicy center that stays moist. Traditionally, tonkatsu is served with finely shredded cabbage, which adds freshness and crunch, and a thick savory sauce similar to Worcestershire, sweet, tangy, and rich. Over time, variations developed. Some prefer leaner cuts, others choose fattier cuts for extra juiciness, and chicken katsu became popular as well. But the core stays the same. Contrast: crisp outside, tender inside. Tonkatsu became a favorite because it feels complete, satisfying, and energizing. It also welcomes sauces. Its flavor is clean, so it pairs well with bold toppings without losing its identity. That is why the leap to katsu curry makes perfect sense. Once curry was already loved and tonkatsu was already adored. Someone realized that placing the cutlet over rice and covering it with thick curry sauce would create a new kind of comfort. Not just two dishes side by side, but one dish that delivers heat, aroma, crunch, and richness in one bite. The knife goes down, the crust crackles, the curry pools around the slices. And suddenly you understand why this combination became iconic. The exact birthplace of katsu curry is a little unclear, and that mystery feels fitting for a dish that grew from everyday dining. Most accounts place its rise in the mid-20th century, especially in the post-World War II era, when Japan was rebuilding and people wanted hearty, satisfying meals. Some stories connect it to Tokyo neighborhoods where restaurants served comfort food to busy workers, while other accounts point to establishments in other regions. Either way, the breakthrough was simple and brilliant. Combine two beloved staples, Japanese curry and tonkatsu, into one plate. Steamed rice becomes the foundation. Freshly fried katsu is placed on top and sliced into strips so every bite has crisp edges. Then the thick curry sauce is ladled generously over the cutlet and rice. The timing matters. The sauce softens parts of the crust, but the outer edges stay crunchy long enough to give that perfect contrast. That is the magic window that makes the dish unforgettable. Katsu curry quickly spread because it felt like the best of both worlds. The cutlet delivered crunch and richness, while the curry delivered warmth, aroma, and comfort. It showed up in restaurants, home kitchens, and even school cafeterias, where curry was common and katsu made it feel like a treat. In the later 20th century, curry houses, called curry-ya, became popular and specialized in all kinds of curry plates, including katsu curry. Customization helped it grow even more, choosing meat, spice level, and extra toppings. Chains like Koko Ichibanya, founded in 1978, helped popularize curry nationwide and eventually internationally. When a dish can be personalized without losing its soul, it becomes a long-term favorite. And katsu curry proved it could do exactly that. In recent decades, katsu curry has traveled far beyond Japan and become a global comfort food. As Japanese cuisine gained worldwide popularity, this dish found a wide audience because it is instantly inviting. You see rice, you see glossy curry, you see a crisp cutlet, and you already know it will satisfy. Its appeal lies in balance. Japanese curry is usually aromatic and mild, thick and slightly sweet, with spices that perfume more than they burn. The katsu is bold and direct, crunchy and juicy, and together they create a harmony that feels both exciting and familiar. As the dish spread, variations grew. Chicken katsu became a common option because it stays tender and pairs beautifully with curry. Seafood versions appeared too, with breaded shrimp or fish bringing a lighter ocean flavor. Vegetarian and vegan options also developed, using tofu, vegetables, or plant-based cutlets, so more people could enjoy the same format of rice, curry, and crunch. In Japan, customization is part of the culture. You can adjust spice level, add cheese, add eggs, add extra vegetables, or serve it with pickles that brighten each bite. Outside Japan, local twists show up, but the core remains: rice as the base, curry as the embrace, katsu as the crown. Whether it is served in a small curry shop, a home kitchen, or a trendy restaurant abroad, it keeps the same promise: comfort with texture. Now that you know how it became a classic, we bring the story into your kitchen. Next, we will build the curry sauce from onions, garlic, ginger, carrots, and potatoes. And we will fry a cutlet that stays crisp without feeling greasy. This is where history turns into dinner. We start with the katsu because the crunch is the first thing people remember. Choose pork cutlets or chicken cutlets with an even thickness, about ½ inch, so they cook quickly without drying out. Season both sides with salt and pepper. Set up a breading station with 3 shallow plates, flour in the first, beaten eggs in the second, and panko breadcrumbs in the third. Panko is the key, because its airy flakes create a light crust that shatters when you bite. Dredge each cutlet in flour and shake off excess. Dip into the egg and let the extra drip away. Then coat fully in panko, pressing gently so it sticks without crushing the flakes. Heat oil in a wide skillet over medium-high heat. You want lively bubbles, not smoke. Carefully lay the cutlets in the oil and listen for that steady sizzle that signals proper frying. Fry until golden on the bottom, then flip and finish until the cutlet is cooked through and the crust is deep gold. Transfer to a rack or paper towels to drain. Resting matters because the steam finishes the inside and the crust sets. Fry in batches so the oil temperature stays stable. Once the cutlets rest, slice them into strips. That slicing makes the dish easier to eat and creates more crisp edges for the curry to touch. While the katsu rests, we build the curry sauce. When the sauce is ready, we will assemble everything fast because the goal is to keep the katsu crisp while the curry is hot. If you want the classic side, serve shredded cabbage and a little pickled ginger for brightness. The combination of crunchy cabbage, crisp katsu, and thick curry makes every bite feel complete. Now the curry sauce, the silky heart of katsu curry. In a pot, heat a little oil over medium heat and add finely chopped onions. Cook patiently until soft and translucent, because onions provide sweetness that balances the spices. Add minced garlic and grated ginger and cook for about a minute until fragrant. Then add sliced carrots and diced potatoes and stir to coat them in the aromatics. Now you build the roux. Sprinkle curry powder and flour over the vegetables and stir constantly. This step cooks out the raw flour taste and wakes up the spices. Slowly pour in chicken or vegetable broth while stirring so the roux dissolves smoothly without lumps. Bring it to a gentle boil. Then reduce the heat and let it simmer until the vegetables are tender and the sauce thickens, usually 15 to 20 minutes. Finish by stirring in soy sauce and a touch of honey or sugar for the classic Japanese sweetness. For an extra traditional layer, grate a little apple and stir it in. It adds mellow depth without tasting like fruit. Taste and adjust with salt and pepper. The texture should coat a spoon and fall slowly. Now assemble. Scoop hot rice onto a plate. Lay the sliced katsu over the rice. Ladle the curry sauce over the katsu and across the rice. The goal is to let the curry sink into some of the crust while the outer edges stay crisp. Add pickled ginger, chopped scallions, or parsley if you like. Then eat immediately while the contrast is at its peak. The first bite should give you soft rice, thick sauce, and that crackle from the katsu all at once. That is the signature experience. When you eat Japanese curry katsu, you are tasting a story of cultural exchange turned into comfort. Curry arrived in Japan during the Meiji era through British influence, and Japan reshaped it into care, thicker, milder, and built to pair perfectly with rice. It became a staple because it was nourishing, affordable, and deeply comforting. Tonk too arrived through Western inspiration too. Then became distinctly Japanese through panko, precise frying, and the obsession with texture. In the mid-20th century, these two favorites met on one plate and created a new classic that spread through homes, schools, curry shops, and eventually the world. Its success is easy to understand. It delivers three pleasures at once: the warmth of rice, the aromatic depth of curry, and the crisp, juicy bite of katsu. It also welcomes variation: pork, chicken, seafood, or plant-based, mild or spicy, simple or loaded with toppings. But no matter the version, it still feels like comfort food with structure. If you make it at home, remember 2 rules. For the katsu, keep the oil temperature steady and do not crush the panko. For the curry, cook the onions patiently and stir the roux smoothly before adding broth. With those foundations, the dish will sing. Thank you for traveling with me on Worldwide Delicious. If you enjoyed this story and you want more dishes from around the world, subscribe to the channel so you never miss the next journey. Leave a comment telling me where we should go next and what comfort food you crave when you need a real reset. Share this with a friend who loves crispy cutlets. Save it for your next cozy night, and I will see you at the next table.